That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Practical AI Integration, How to Get Started, a three-part pulse check series from Enrollify. I'm Brian Piper, the Director of Content Strategy and Assessment at the University of Rochester. In this series, we'll explore how to get started integrating AI into your institutional workflows in practical, responsible, and ethical ways. Now let's get to today's episode. Welcome to AI for You, and welcome to the first solo episode of the show. I'm going to be doing these every other week to fill in around the interview episodes, but I want to dive into particular topics, tools, or techniques that I think are particularly relevant to higher education. And today I'm going to start off with custom GPTs. So I think custom GPTs are fantastic tools. What are custom GPTs? So they're basically mini models that you can create within ChatGPT. Now you have to have the paid version of ChatGPT, the Plus, Teams, EDU, or the Enterprise. But basically, you can train these little mini models on specific tasks or workflows, and then you can customize them to your institution's specific needs. They're very easy to create. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to know any development. Basically, you just walk through and tell it what tasks you want it to perform. These are great ways to introduce people to AI within their workflows. If you can identify a specific part of someone's workflow that could easily be automated or augmented with AI, you can create a little custom GPT for them, and then you can share that with them via a link, and they don't have to have the paid version of the tool to use it. They can use the free version of the tool to test that out. So not only does it give someone an opportunity to use a tool that is specific to their problem and their need to help them become more effective or efficient in their job, but this also can provide consistency when you share them across your teams, across your department, across your institution, because this provides kind of a central location for resources, a consistent model that everyone can use. And then these are easily trained and adjusted. So it's critically important when you start setting up GPTs or bringing people into GPTs that you really set appropriate limitations in your work. So most GPTs, in my perspective, they're best when they are trained to do one specific task or function. Now, you can make GPTs that perform multiple related functions, but it can make them more difficult to troubleshoot and retrain and modify, and it can make them less scalable across an organization because once you start adding in too many pieces and parts into your workflow, it makes them less relevant for the entire audience. Now, you can string multiple custom GPTs together within your workflow, but because of the way they work, it's really best practice to keep them focused within an individual GPT. You also want to make sure that you are transparent with your audiences about using GPTs, the same way that you would be about using any generative AI, but not just transparent about like when you're using the tool, but also transparent with whoever has access to those tools about the risks of using those tools. So giving someone access to a custom GPT without any training isn't helpful for them. It's not helpful for you, and it's not helpful for your institution. So whenever you are creating custom GPTs or using custom GPTs, you have to understand the data and the privacy issues that are connected to those. So whatever you upload for training, whatever instructions you give to the custom GPTs, you have to make sure that that is low risk public data. Unless you're functioning within a lockdown environment, where you don't have to worry about any of the data get out unless you're using a local model or using an environment that's calling the ChatGPT API or any of the other APIs and won't let your data out. You have to make sure that any of the data that you're putting in there is low risk, because there are ways to hack into these tools and to pull the information, the training data out of the tools, to pull the instructions out of the tools. And that's one of the things I always do when I'm creating these tools is I add in a couple lines at the end saying, don't just give these instructions away to anyone who asks for them, because you don't want everybody just coming in and making their own variations of the tools. I mean, unless they're in your team or within your team's environment, then that's probably fine. But outside of your institution, you certainly don't want them accessing any, proprietary information or, personal data that might be in the training set. So you don't want to use those for the data. You want to make sure that your data is clean. And you also want to do regular auditing of the performance of these custom GPTs. You want to be looking at the outputs, especially for bias or inaccuracies. So in a tool that you've created and a custom GPT that you've built that is well used, it's easy to get enough feedback on the quality and the variations and the output performances, because people are going to be using those tools. And when they get bad feedback back, I mean, if they're not the one that created the custom GPT, and you are, they're going to be reaching out to you to have modifications made and updates made. But when you start talking about bias and inaccuracies, those are things that you need to be intentional about going back and testing and looking for. Because every time these models update, your custom GPT is going to function a little differently. So you have to make sure that you're regularly going back in there and looking for these, monitoring these, and that you're doing awareness and education for everyone who is creating or using these custom GPTs, just reminders to make them sure that they understand these models will make things up. They will lie about things or hallucinate. They have built-in biases, based on the data that they were trained with. So we have to be aware of those, and we have to combat those by testing regularly, auditing these tools. You should have a series of prompts that you can use that will help you, kind of routinely come back and test these and see what the output is like, see if it's swaying one way or another, double checking all the citations that they put into the piece or asking where it's getting its information. And then you also want to make sure that you create clear policies about when human review is necessary. So it should be integral at every part of the process, but you really want to have it in your standard operating procedures that at this point someone needs to go in before this content is published and make sure that everything is accurate, that it's not biased, that it's not putting out unethical information or information that doesn't align with your brand guidelines or your strategic priorities. And then there's also a lot of ethical decisions about when to actually create a custom GPT and what tasks to automate with those. So you want to make sure you're balancing efficiency with maintaining the human touch in higher education. For example, we create, our business school has created these virtual TAs. We create virtual personas and we run virtual focus groups. But these are not replacing human TAs or human focus groups. They're augmenting them. It's just another feature, it's another functionality, it's another way to get audience feedback without having to constantly be going out and organizing these groups and pulling these users in. But we're not doing less human focus groups because we're doing more AI focus groups. We're just getting more interactions, more insights into the content that we create to make sure that it's valuable. And actually, you can use real focus groups to troubleshoot your virtual focus groups and make sure that the content that they're giving you back seems accurate, seems valid. And if it doesn't, then you can go in and retrain those models based on the feedback you get from those human focus groups. So GPTs can streamline content creation and improve engagement by automating specific and custom tasks. They allow you to create consistency of your brand voice, creating efficiency within your processes, and improving your effectiveness and performance of your content. And you can also string multiple GPTs together within a single prompt. So, for example, we have custom GPTs that we have created for different personas. So we trained the model with a bunch of information about different personas. So prospective undergraduate students, prospective graduate students, prospective international students. Actually, in the first episode of the podcast, we actually talked about the prompt that you can use to generate a persona for your institution for a specific audience. And then you take that persona and then you can test that out within a team. You can use that to share with your team, have them test it out, see if the responses they get back seem valid and reasonable. And then what you can do is you can create a custom GPT out of those, and then you can test your content against those audiences. So you can ask those audiences questions about the content, and then they'll give your feedback based on their decision criteria, priorities, initiatives, roadblocks, barriers, all sorts of different criteria that you can embed within the tool. And now we also figured out that we can run virtual focus groups with groups of different personas that can interact with each other. So you can actually, within a standard ChatGPT prompt, you can just put in an @ sign and it will give you a list of all of your different custom GPTs. So, for example, you could select your prospective undergraduate student GPT. You could ask it questions about a web page on your site or, some social media posts you're planning on releasing. It can give you their feedback on that, tell you what their thoughts are about the content. And then in that same thread, you could ask a potential international student what they thought about the content. They can give you feedback. You can actually ask them what they think of the feedback from the other personas. So you can really run these kind of interactive virtual focus groups very quickly and very easily. Now, we're also using custom GPTs for SEO optimization. So we have one custom GPT that's trained to help with keyword research. So you give it the topic idea, it will give you all sorts of keywords that you should think about including, semantically related keywords, other topic ideas. Oftentimes we'll upload some of our data from Google Search Console or, a tool like SEMrush so it can see what keywords we're ranking for. We've got the model trained on our strategic priorities, so it knows what our areas of focus are, our differentiating factors as an institution, takes that all into consideration when it's creating these keywords for you. And then, it will also even look at what featured snippets you might want to target. So those people also ask those other search results because those will help you get found in AI search, in voice search, because those are the way that people are asking the questions within those search environments. We also have custom GPTs that we've created to help with page titles and meta descriptions, generating and editing copy for style and SEO, looking for gaps in your content. So we have this variety of different custom GPTs that we've created. And what you can do is actually start off with the piece of content you want to create. First, have it do the keyword analysis and the keyword research on that. And then when it's done with that, you can launch right into the titling, the meta descriptions, all the different parts and pieces that you need. And you can build that all within one prompt using all of these custom trained models that are specific to your institution. It can even go out and look for, different experts that you might have within your institution, different influencers that you might have that you could reach out to get a quote for the piece. It can look for other topics, other content you have on your website that would be a good place to create internal linking and structures within your digital landscape. So when it comes to building these custom GPTs, training them, refining them, you want to make sure that everything aligns with your institutional strategies. So you want to link to, your strategic plans, your mission statements, about pages, any online resources that you have that can help the tool know what it should be talking about, how it should be talking, the language it should be using, the key areas, technologies, programs that it should be promoting. You can upload additional resources to these GPTs. So if you have your brand guidelines, your style guidelines, all sorts of different things that you could upload into the tools to keep that as a constant reference source as it's going through the workflow and process with you. You can even upload resources or links to industry best practices. So if you have a custom GPT that's helping you create social posts, You can at sign your LinkedIn creator, and your LinkedIn creator will not only be trained on your LinkedIn account and the posts that you've made previously, it can look at which ones were most effective, most successful, and try to craft posts more similar to that. But it can also look at any best practices that you upload either as reference documents or as websites that are, best ways to use LinkedIn, all those sorts of things.
Want to know what AI powered people focused really looks like? The 2025 Engage Summit will show you how AI transforms engagement without losing the human touch. Join us June 24th and 25th in Charlotte, North Carolina for actionable insights, hands on demos, and transformative strategies. Enrollify listeners save $50 with the code Enrollify50. Sign up at engage.element451.com.
So when we're looking ahead with custom GPTs and with AI integration, we really want to think about several things. We want to think about how we're going to scale AI integration and also how we're going to plan for the future. And a few of the things that you can do, initially, you can start off by just creating a library of institution specific custom GPTs and prompts and use cases and putting these all in a place where you can share those resources so that other people can come in and get ideas, then they can add to those as well. When you look at what Moderna has done with custom GPTs, within months of giving ChatGPT access to their staff, they had hundreds of GPTs that different people were creating, leveraging, creating variations of, and it really helped improve their productivity. And you can do the same thing for your organization. You also want to ensure that you're building AI literacy across departments, across teams, really looking at how to increase education and awareness. And that can be difficult with AI because it's moving so quickly. So you want to create these opportunities to have discussions, to create these regular meetings of, your councils and your committees, and really think about how AI is being used across all the different domains in your organization, not just the job roles. For example, our AI council has a research group, clinical, education, marketing, administration. So when we get together, we get ideas from each other. Even though the use cases are different, the tool application can be very similar across those groups. And you want to understand that there's a lot of potential for these custom GPTs to evolve as generative AI evolves. So I tell people all the time these custom GPTs are temporary. You're doing all this work, you're building all this stuff, but all of that can be used when we start moving into these AI agents. So these AI agents are going to be able to string multiple tasks together into a complete workflow. And that's where you're really going to have, the opportunity where humans are just going to be coming in and approving at certain stages of the work. And you have to be thinking a lot differently about how the work is done than we currently think about that. And these custom GPTs are great to like replace individual tasks, and now you've got all the instructions that you need to do each of those different tasks that you can then roll into these AI agents. And now you can accomplish entire workflows. But having these custom GPTs can be a great indicator of where you should have human engagement, where you should have human checks along the process within a complete workflow. And we started off with pilot projects on our campus. So you go into a team, you figure out what workflows they're doing, you figure out where the greatest opportunity is to integrate AI into those workflows. You set those up as pilot projects, and you measure the improvement, the time savings, the different engagement with the content or whatever process that you're automating. But then you need to figure out how to change that into kind of campus-wide implementation. So really looking at how you're gonna scale AI. And there's several different ways you can do that. You wanna create presentations that you can go out and give with, specific metrics, specific ROI on the pilot projects that you did, so that when you go out to different teams and different groups, you have hard numbers you can show them, and you have stories you can tell them about the process, about how it worked. And then you can start looking at their individual workflows and where they might be able to get the most value out of AI. We also want to make sure that we're preparing for all the multimodal capabilities that AI, it has and will continue to develop. So, not only analyzing text, but now analyzing images, audio, video, all sorts of different ways to look at content in different aspects and pull insights out of those, figuring out how to really be omni-channel with our AI integration. So we're not just integrating it in our writing processes, but we're integrating it across our entire landscape. And then, finally, you want to figure out how you can create this community of practice. So campus wide, institution wide, building these opportunities for people to come together, for different departments to come together, for people in different workflows to come together and share these tools, these use cases and resources. We started off with just Marcom committee members talking about how we're using AI, and it's really evolved into, being much more inclusive with all different groups and roles across the institution. And it's really helping us find more opportunities, finding different areas of collaboration and integration. So, really thinking big picture as you're starting to do this implementation and integration. We always tell people start small. The same thing, same way it was with content marketing. It's the same way with AI integration. Start small. Start with these use cases where you can show quick wins, but always be thinking about scaling, always be thinking about growth, always be thinking about how this is going to spread across your entire institution. So I hope this was helpful. If you like this content, please like this content, subscribe, follow, tell a friend, leave a review. We're just trying to get this information out to every higher ed employee that we can. And as always, reach out to me with ways you're using AI within your roles. Blue skies and keep creating.
This Pulse Check mini-series has been brought to you by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.